Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is December 3rd, 2020, and I'm speaking with Jerod. Jerod went to the Agape Boys Ranch in Stockton, Missouri from January 2017 to December 2017. I want to welcome Jerod on the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good. So go ahead and just start from the beginning. The floor is yours, Jerod.
All right. I was living in Texas. I think I was 15. I'd been taking steroids when I was 14. And basically my parents had already had issues with that. And I was going in and out of my grandparents' and parents' house. My parents they're my adoptive parents, and they weren't really, they weren't a part of the picture for a long time after they adopted me. And that was a whole issue, a whole family issue aside from that. But basically I was taking steroids from freshman year of high school to sophomore year. And in my sophomore year, the end of my freshman year, I was on Xanax a lot, on pills, smoking weed, getting into a lot of fights. And that was affecting not only me in school, but one of my big passions was football. And that was where my dad really noticed that. He's like, why aren't you showing up to practice, this, that, and the other? And then I got into it, sophomore year, the beginning of sophomore year. I was coming off of a suspension and was selling drugs. And just overall not doing great, as a kid should. I was doing some things that a lot of kids do, going out, staying out late, stuff like that. But some of those things weren't normal for kids in general. And I got in some trouble with the law towards, I guess it would have been the end of the first semester of my sophomore year, so that December. And my mom and dad had been leaving a lot of papers on our dinner table a lot, and that wasn't really normal. And basically they had talked to a judge, and I had got a choice, basically, either go to Agape or do some juvenile time, and would have been facing charges as an adult. Okay. So anyways, that's kind of where I was leading up to going to Agape in that way. And then, my parents, they were telling me about this place, and they were telling me we were going to go look at it. And so we end up going up to Agape, and on our way there, going up through Oklahoma City and just seeing all the countryside. And then we stopped at a motel, and basically they had some transporters meet us there and picked me up and took me there. Whenever I got to Agape, the thing that really stood out to me, which I didn't realize why they did this till later, there was 5 students there to pick me up and 3 staff members. So right away at that point I didn't know that was unnormal. I thought it was just, a welcoming committee, like, hey buddy, how you doing? Well,
usually it's just 2 staff members.
Yeah, it wasn't, man. There was, I'm not going to use names, but there was a really he was a redshirt at the time, but ended up being a captain. There was 2 other red shirts, and then and then 2 other sergeants, which is like the higher maroon, a burgundy shirt.
Burgundy, yeah.
But anyways, and then Julio and Dan were there as well. That's how that looked. And we all went in, and it was a really weird setting, almost like my parents were making the decision to go through with that whenever we got there, because they ended up meeting us there with the transporters, and we all sat down and talked to the staff, and they were going through this PowerPoint talking about how the school burned down years back, stuff like that. And basically they then took me down to it was downstairs from that meeting area, and it was this big padded room, and I got really uncomfortable and really defensive. And they told me, hey, we're going to shave your hair and this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that, but, it doesn't seem like I have a choice. I was like, I could try to play y'all, but I know I'm going to get my butt whooped. But basically, they shaved my hair, took everything I had. one of the guys that ended up being my quote unquote guide, like the person who walks you through your first month or so there.
Your buddy,
yeah, your buddy. I think that was what it was.
Yeah.
I had a chain that my father had bought for me. It had a gold cross. It was a crucifix. And so, whenever we were walking in there, he said, hey, give that to me. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. Like, I guess I trust you here, because I knew I was going to get everything taken away from me. So they stripped me down, looked for scars, tattoos, this, that, and the other. And then they told me about self-restraint. And then Julio and his beautiful 5'7", 300-pound looking ass picked me up and slammed me into the ground.
Wow.
And said, this is self-restraint, Anyways, at that point I got really flustered and kind of pissed off, but I was not smart enough to say something back to him, or I guess dumb enough to say something back to him.
Right.
So, after that, got dressed. I believe it was about lunchtime at that time, because I walked through and ended up going to the lunch hall and just kind of talking to some people with my guide, and ended up getting all my stuff that was cleared to go through. So that was kind of my intake process there at Agape, and the weirdness.
Now, your parents, how did they hear about this place? Did they just find it online, or did a church member or a friend of theirs?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Sure. All I know is they were already looking at places before I got in trouble with the law. And then at that point, I believe they may have brought that up to the lawyer or the judge, and has said, hey, we know this is an option. And right. I think that's kind of where that went with that.
So you weren't in a religious home or anything? You didn't grow up in a religious home?
So my grandparents, they were both really not even hardcore Christian. They're just good Christian people, which is uncommon nowadays. And, I believe in God. I believe that there is a God and that he saved me. But my parents didn't, and that was okay, But they were very, my mom and dad both drank a lot, smoked a lot of weed, did a lot of the stuff that I did, but not to the point where there's an issue. So I had some big issues with that in general.
Okay.
But definitely no Christian aspects in the household at that time where I was living.
Okay. So you get there, the intake's done, you're with your buddy. So how were the first couple of weeks with your buddy there?
The first couple of weeks, man, which I, at that point, I didn't even really care that I had a buddy. I was just like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'll be quiet. I won't cause any issues. But basically, his name was Tremon. He had been there for about 4 or 5 years, kind of had been reformed, I think, because I was told that he was kind of a handful whenever he got there. And he later on ended up being a red shirt, just like I did towards the end of my stay there. But basically, that first day, he kind of walked me through what you do at lunch. And then after that, he kind of just didn't, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I got in trouble for. And, the push-up system, I don't have an issue with that. I loved working out. So, okay, cool, dude. Yeah, I'll fucking do 20 push-ups. I'll do 100 push-ups. Suck my dick, like that's what I thought. I was kind of an asshole. I was like, all right, cool.
Sure.
But I got tested really quickly on that. I think it was like my first week back. I was, do you know what Browntown is, I guess?
Yes, I know Browntown is.
I was begging, I was like, screw school. Let me go to Browntown. Let me go work out. And so they finally stopped letting me do that. So I kind of just shut down, didn't do any work, schoolwork, and then I was just, doing push-ups in the classroom and all that. And then we got down to the, I think it was a Wednesday night after the Wednesday night service. We got down to the shower bay, and I was working out, and I think we were waiting for our shower turn. And a man named Jordan, which I actually love that guy. He's a pretty decent guy. He was an ex-student there, taught us a lot about shoeing horses, working with horses. I already had a little experience with that, but he kind of drove my passion with that. But anyways, him and all of his he was an asshole, but he was a cool asshole, He was, okay, push-up position, Emery. And so he told me to get in push-up position, and I stayed in push-up position for about half an hour waiting to take a shower. And I didn't get to take a shower that night, but that was my fault. And I had a few issues like that I just kind of they made it seem like I brought on myself, but overall, there was a lot of really strange things that went on there. I saw a gentleman hang himself, a young man hang himself.
Wow.
I saw a guy, which he's okay now, but he had got his head busted open on a table. I saw people get their faces busted open. I mean, there was a lot of fighting.
The guy that hung himself. Did he die?
He was alive. No,
he's alive.
But,
okay, all right.
Robert, do you know who I'm referring to?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he has EMT certification, so he showed up that night, and I guess they didn't end up having to take him to the hospital. Well, I know they did take him to the hospital, but it took about a day for them to get him there. He didn't show up after that. We never saw him again. But there's a few instances, where there'd be an issue with students, and instead of staff stepping in and saying, hey, what's going on, man? Let's figure this out, they would totally overlook the fact that they know something's about to happen to that student. They're going to get their butt whooped, or something's going to happen. And then once stuff goes off and something happens, then they go, oh, hey, self-restraint, and they'll throw somebody on the ground and, get into that situation that I'm sure you've heard plenty of times.
Oh, yes. And, to me, that sounds like a bunch of sadistic motherfuckers.
Yeah, man.
They feed off of that, off of the negativity, off they get absolute joy out of beating people up and throwing them to the ground.
I feel like, personally, not all of them, but a lot of them, the gentlemen that work there and the people that work there and run that place, get a kind of high off of being able to be the, holier than thou.
Yeah.
Oh, you messed up, so let me correct you. The Bible says you need to correct your son. Stuff like that. They just kind of throw at you. And I'm all for reading the Bible, but there's kids there that were Muslim, and they would tell, no, that's not your religion.
Yeah.
And this is America, man. I don't care if you praise a flying spaghetti monster in the sky. I won't respect that. That's silly, but I'll damn sure respect your right to believe that. And they had a lot of instances overall that were really negative in that way.
From what I've heard from all the guys that I've had discussions with or interviewed, it seems like they didn't give two shits about rehabilitation. Okay, their only rehabilitation, basically their way of rehabilitation, was you're going to accept Jesus, whether you like it or not. You're going to accept him. If you don't, well, we're just going to beat the shit out of you until you do.
Yeah, they had one upper a captain, and he is the only person that I remember that got any sort of rank, any sort of privilege that didn't accept Christ there. I had accepted Christ when I was 9. That was my decision. That wasn't pushed on me by them. But I did see that, man. If you don't believe that, if you don't believe in their specific ways,
their ideology, yeah.
Ideology, yeah. I mean, even if you like reading the NIV Bible instead of the KJV, they're going to make damn sure that they can push that in your face more and more and more. Instead of respecting that and coming from, I'm a human, you're a human, let me give you love and, help you and actually rehabilitate you. I'm going to come from a Christian standpoint and only that standpoint. And that's not okay, especially whenever you do it the way they did.
Oh, yeah. So, well, see, the thing about the Baptists, because Agape was independent fundamental Baptist.
Yes.
And coming from a Baptist background, the King James Version is the true version. It's kind of like the Muslims saying the Quran is the true version.
Absolutely.
All the other ones, the NIV, the Catholic Bible, all those other ones are just works of the devil. That was their thing. And
that was their teaching, yeah.
And it started with, I don't know if you heard about a guy named Lester Roloff.
Yes.
Yes, it started with him.
Oh, man. I went to Agape, man. I knew all about Lester Roloff. They even had a Roloff dormitory before I got there.
Yeah, the Roloff dorm.
Yeah.
The school I went to was on Roloff's farm. In
Really?
In Texas, Corpus Christi, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm from.
Oh,
So
alrighty.
yeah,
Weatherford. So.
I know where that's at. But yeah, it all started with him, and
Yeah.
he died in '82. But his teachings were he had his own minions. You know what I mean? And his minions followed his teachings,
Yeah.
and of course, their kids followed the teachings, and their kids followed. Before you know it, all these
It's all over the
generations.
country.
Yep, and Roloff is the epicenter. He's the guy that started this whole thing.
I believe it,
In
man.
in the Baptist homes,
Yeah.
not because there's other ones that are Catholic or Protestant or whatever. Not those, just the Baptists. So, but yeah, he was. I could tell you some stories about Roloff, but anyway, so couple weeks, everything's okay. Were there some kids there? I mean, were you able to talk to people? You know, kind of befriend them, and or was
I
that
was able
looked
to
down
talk
upon?
to people. A lot of people, like there's a lot of kids from Chicago, and honest to God, dude, those kids came from the most rich, spoiled white houses. And I don't say that to be racist or a bigot, but these kids would come there and be. There's a young man by the name of John. He thought he was a South Side gangster, all this crap. And there were some there's about 2 or 3 guys there that were affiliated that you knew. Like, there's a guy that I knew for sure from before I'd went there that he was affiliated. And that none of that was there, like
Right.
there were guys there that acted like they were total hard asses, man. And whenever you show up there, what's up, man? Where are you from? And it's like, I'm from fucking Texas, dude. Leave me alone. Fuck off. Like I fuck horses, man. Leave me alone. But no, man, it was a trip, dude. It was really strange walking into that environment, and I worked in corrections for a little while, a very short time, and I want to get into law enforcement. And having seen just a little bit that I did in corrections, it is way better off than you are at someplace like Agape. You have the ability to see a TV and to go walk around outside, but you're also at the same time you have way less rights. In the jail, you have to tase or mace somebody before you can touch them, unless they are physically attacking you or another officer or another inmate. You can't do that.
Right.
At Agape, man, if you say no, you're getting body slammed into concrete.
And the thing is, the sheriffs are working there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they're working full time, like they work at the sheriff's office and they come over there, or part time, or just volunteering. I don't know.
I knew Robert did that, and he was the liaison, and a lot of the other guys there had background in law enforcement.
Yeah, Sheriff Graves, I think his name was Sheriff Graves.
Yeah,
was one of them. Yeah, so that's not cool, man. Because I mean, what if there's an allegation? Whether it's mental, physical, sexual, whatever.
Yeah,
it's going to stop right there because the sheriff works for him. I mean, that's
absolutely
kind of a conflict of interest there.
Absolutely, it's they would have to take that out of the county just to prosecute that because of the conflict of interest. And it's not a smart thing to do, And
I think that's why it's been so hard to take down Agape. They've been
absolutely
kind of what's the word, untouchable, basically, because.
And there's a lot of money there too, man.
Oh yeah,
the Clemensons who own it. I mean, even if for Jerod, that kid, dude. Every time I saw him, I knew there's something wrong with him. And then I get out, and about 6 months later, once I turn 18, I see those allegations were true.
Yeah, Jerod Clemenson is a piece of shit. He's a child raper. So
yeah. And I mean, whenever we were there, like me and the guy, and I'm friends with a lot of the guys I went with or that went right after me on Facebook. We talk and communicate. But that dude had the weirdest of the weird kids like follow him around all day long. And, I'm not homophobic, but he had like the only 2 gay kids that were there with him all the time. And it's just like, whenever you're looking back, you're like, oh my God, like that dude's a piece of shit, man. He was facilitating those things,
Yeah, you could just tell sometimes when someone's a weirdo, you know what I mean? You just look at him and just, oh, yeah. But
Yeah,
sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. It just depends.
it
But
does.
I saw a picture of him, and I'm like, yeah,
That's a Weasley
yeah,
motherfucker.
that's a shady piece of shit right there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that guy just looks like he rapes women. It's like, oh, you know, he did. So,
Yeah.
but were there any girls there at all? I mean, on staff, I'm sure the staff had daughters there, right?
Yes, the staff had daughters there. I'm not aware of too much going into that. Like I said, so many of the staff there were decent human beings. Not all of them by any means.
Oh
There's
yeah.
quite a few I can name that were not. Dan, he's from Pennsylvania. Anybody that watches this will know who I'm talking about. He had a great heart, and if he put his hands on you, that was because you were about to get hurt by another staff member or because you are hurting somebody. He wasn't a guy who's just going to walk up to you and throw you. I saw Julio walk up to people that stepped out of line and freaking grab them by their head and throw them into the wall, dude. Like, that's not okay,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
not.
Julio's a very easy guy to get along with. You talk to him, oh, yeah, how you doing, brother? How are you doing, man? How's the family doing? Oh, it's great. But whenever you actually know who he is, you can look past that bullshit because you know what he does on the daily.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he works there anymore, but what he did on the daily.
Oh, he works there. He's the dean.
I didn't know if he still was. He was the dean whenever I left. Parker was the dean when I got there, and he was a
Right.
decent guy. He had a good heart. He was a real pretty cool guy.
Well, you know,
Uh,
a lot of not all. I mean, depending on the school, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter what school, but you got your bad staff members and you got your good staff members, the ones that are there to actually make a difference. They're there
yeah,
to actually, educate the kids and show them the right way to do things. They are there, but
yeah,
they're overshadowed by these numbnuts.
by the bad.
Yeah, yeah. You don't really talk about, or people don't really know about them because all they're hearing about is these idiots that
Yeah,
are assaulting kids. You know what I mean? So they're kind of in the background. So
there was on my first visit. It was my 4-month visit. There was, I forget who it was. I think Julio took care of it. Took care of it.
right,
Um, there's a kid causing an issue, and I was sitting there with my parents at the table. I think it was close to my birthday time or a little bit before, and so they had brought a decent meal, and we were eating and talking and stuff. And all of a sudden, you hear this big, smack, and then this like scream, and we all turned around, and my dad stood up. He's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck's going on, dude?" And I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, Julio does that. And even then, my dad was like, "What the hell?" And he looked at my mom, and my dad's a man, who doesn't usually make a big deal out of stuff, but that was big to him, and he was like, "Dude, what the hell is going on here?" And my parents, I feel like almost knew. I don't talk to them, by the way. I haven't talked to them. I got out, and for 6 months, I went to school, and I graduated early from high school, and moved up to Tennessee.
right.
Uh, but my mom and dad, I feel like, almost knew about some of the allegations before they made the decision to allow me go. Because before we left, and the reason they told me this is I don't give a damn about grape soda. They're like, if anything's going on, whether it's a message on a piece of paper or whether it's on the phone, tell us you miss grape soda. And I was sitting there, I was like, what do you mean? And whenever I got there, I was like, I damn sure miss grape soda right now. And they were like, yeah, because we'll show up and we'll kick ass. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. But I kind of have some resentment to them for sending me there. I love them with all my heart. They did what they could. They weren't the best parents by any means, but the decision to send me there after already having seen some of the allegations was a pretty big fuck up on their part. And
Well,
so,
Jared, being a parent myself, we make mistakes. I mean,
absolutely.
if I was to send my kid to a reform school, like, or a boarding school, whatever, and I'm talking with my kid, and all of a sudden I see some creatine eating, steroid pumping dumbass over there slamming some kid,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say what the fuck. I'm just going to say, let's go. You're
Yeah.
leaving right now.
Yeah.
You know. So
But it wasn't a situation that was even really scary. There was some serious mental aspects of abuse there. I think the biggest thing was they called it the timeout room. Uh, it was I'm sure you've heard of it. I forget what the actual name is, but it's like solitary, man. There's cubbies and the one upstairs and then one downstairs. It's a single room, padded from floor to ceiling.
Okay.
And you get in enough trouble if you get in a fight. In the several altercations that I had been around or been in there, you get sent there. And, I mean, I've seen them carry people. They'd take 4 or 5 guys, just pick them up and carry them down there and just leave them there with somebody. That and that night, I'm sure you may have heard of this. 3 to probably 20 times a month, you would have these awful fire alarms go off, just boom, 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 and sometimes 3 or 4 times in one night. And whenever that happens, everybody has to wake up and get together in a line and go down to the fire room, which is just a big fucking oven under the fucking building. But basically, everybody goes down there and sits there and waits for the alarms to figure out to go off. And me looking back, I'm like, how the hell does a fire alarm system get tripped 5 times in one night? But just stuff like that, man, like just it kind of, if there's a lot of people that had really serious mental issues there already.
Yeah.
And then after that, just were even worse, it seems like.
Did you ever hear the rumors about Antonio who escaped Agape? Yeah.
Yes, I know of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a podcast with him yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I never knew him. He escaped right before I got there. But there's a gentleman, a young man that was from the Panhandle in Texas named Jerod. And me and him were so desperate. We were planning on beating the shit out of one of the staff members and stealing their car and getting to Texas. Like, we had a plan, and we both knew the phone numbers we needed to call, dude. And we were serious about it. And I'm not proud of that because that person had a family, but like, we were ready. Like, yeah, I won't get into details, but I'll say it was dumb just because some of the spots of the plan were dumb. But man, we were legitimately ready to leave and do whatever we had to. And the only reason we didn't is because I got a call from my family that if I did that, it would be evading something for the court. And I would end up going to jail.
Yeah, that's right, because you were court ordered, basically. Okay, yeah.
But that was ridiculous, man. There's a lot. And what was even crazier is when a student did try to run, and we had one guy actually get away, and then he got 2 guys get away and actually get brought back by transport service. Students would run after him, man. Right out the door. You'd see half the student population fucking zoom out that door. 50 to 100 kids zoom out the door after this dude because Julio promised it was a steak and like lobster dinner to whoever got him. And I'm sitting there like, I mean, that sounds nice, but I'm not about to do that.
Well, I'll tell you, if you get bribed with a steak or lobster dinner, man, it must have been bad over there. I mean, as far as the food,
Oh, dude, when I got there, I was eating pretty good before, I was eating healthy. I'd make kale protein shakes in the morning every day, eat tuna and just a huge meal every day and eat really well. And there they give you plenty of food normally. But their food, dude, I don't know what it is. That first few weeks, like, your stomach feels like a bag of rocks. And like, I had abs. And it still felt like there was like a cinder block, like cinder blocks in my stomach. And I mean, you touch it and it hurts, dude. And you're working, and then you have to shit. And you're like, that first few weeks, you're at Browntown and you can't. You're in the middle of a field or you're wherever. You're not going to go to the bathroom. No, you wait. And we had a couple guys piss themselves or crap themselves. Yeah. It was just like, what the hell I think they put laxatives in the food or something. Something in there.
Well, that's abuse right there. I mean, just to not let a kid go to the bathroom. That's
Yeah,
right
something as
there.
simple as
If
that.
if anything else didn't happen, if there was no beatings or if there was nothing like that, if it was just that, that right there is abuse.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
And,
kid said he's got to go to the bathroom. They should have had a porta potty out there or something.
well, they even had restrooms, out at the playing field and at the theater thing around the water. They even had one there, but they were always locked, and it was always a run risk if you went in there. And there's a lot of staff that would go in there beforehand and take like 10 minutes looking in the restroom to make sure there wasn't anything you could get to before you could go. And it's like, dude, I'm about to just shit myself and walk around with my dick out. Like that's where I'm at. Like, and dude, it was just it was definitely a trip looking back on it. There's some really fucked up shit that happened there, but all I can say, for the people that did get sent there by their parents, just their parents' volition, if you can't parent your kid and you think you have to send them somewhere, fucking triple check. Go there while after you send them there, go there. Just drop in.
Yeah,
Because there were times we would have the whole entire cafeteria at lunchtime in push-up position or self-restraint. And you're all laying there and you're all just sitting there on the ground with your face in the ground, waiting to get up with staff screaming at you, walking
Yeah.
around you, picking people up that are in self-restraint by the back of their neck and their freaking pants, And
Yeah.
it's just like, and then, we had people that would swing on staff because of that and then wonder why, Because if somebody, like right now, I'm 19 years old. If someone came up to me and hit me, there'd be a fist fight. That's
Sure.
just, you got to defend yourself.
Yep.
But in that situation, you get hit, you get, whatever happens, you just got to deal with it. You just got to deal with it and keep your mouth shut, or else you're going to be on their radar for the next few months.
That's tough for a teenager to do. You know what I mean?
Especially a teenage boy,
Yeah.
man. You know what? You get 100, 150 teenage boys in a fucking room, and have you seen the cafeteria there?
No.
It's
I've heard about it.
Yeah, so there's like a own section for the students. I have seen that whole section go from people sitting quietly or eating or sitting quietly and reading the Bible in the morning to one person slamming their Bible down saying, fuck this, and there being a huge fight and everybody going into it, and people shouldn't live like that.
No.
If you don't want to read the Bible every morning, as long as you sit there and be quiet, I don't think there should be an issue with that. We had people get demoted from red shirt all the way down to brown, which is the worst, or scrubs even. Well, scrubs was really just if you ran, but they put you all the way down to that. And, there's guys that spent a year getting that red shirt to be able to have privileges and help out.
Right.
And they're done because they didn't read their Bible,
And for some of the, for the parents out there, especially the ones that have sent their kids recently, let's say,
Yeah.
2008 and to today, they really have no excuse because, I mean, if I'm looking for something, let's say I'm looking for a place, I'm going to go to the website. Okay, the website's got all these got these kids with a big old smile on their face, petting the horses, Okay, wait a minute. This is just, this is too good to be true. Let's go to Yelp, I think it's called, and some other places, couple forums. Let's see if there's any negative reviews. But before this podcast even started,
Yeah.
there was negative reviews about Agape on some of these forums.
Man.
So parents now have no excuse because it is out there.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just ignored, because there is a lot of places where, like, hell, a construction company I used to work for, they had all these bad reviews because they had a serious conduct. It's like if you don't act like this and if you don't do your shit right, you're going to get fired. So people would go on and say, oh, F this company, blah, blah, blah. That happens a little bit. I'm sure there's people that just say, oh, I was treated so badly or I was bullied. But whenever you have as many people as have came out, probably over 50, if not 80% of the student body every year that gets out is saying, no, dude, that place is bad news. There's an issue.
Right.
There are boarding schools, Camden, and I think it's North Carolina, South Carolina. I've never been there, but I have friends that have been there, and they said, oh, it was pretty decent. It was a pretty decent place. you don't hear that about Agape. People just
Yeah.
say, "Oh, it's all right," or "I don't want to talk about it." You know?
And like you were saying about the different reviews, like to say for a construction company or whatever. Yeah, sure. If you see a review that says, well, they were late when to start and all this other stuff, that's a different story. I mean, but if you have reviews that say, hey, well, the guy that's working for me right now, or that worked on my house, so to speak,
Yeah,
robbed my safe or something,
yeah,
that's a
man.
different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a
Or
serious allegation.
or tried to assault my wife or something like that. That's just something, and that's the same thing with these boarding schools. If it's hey, they're
Absolutely.
yelling at me all the time, they're degrading me, by yelling at me, whatever. Okay, now if you got a bunch of people coming out saying I've been slammed on the concrete, I got my face punched in, and they got pictures to prove it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I mean, yeah, you need to take that into
The
consideration.
the biggest infringement there would have been having a cell phone. I got a hold of one from. I got it on July 4th whenever they had the big party, and I had it not party because that would be you go to hell if you had a party. The get together on July 4th on the rodeo and all that. I got one. It was given to me by a friend that visited with my family. They told them that they were my brothers. Anyways, they gave me a cell phone, and I had that from then to I guess whenever I left, and I passed it on to somebody else. And if they had found that, I probably wouldn't have gotten out then, and I probably would have been there until I was 18 because that was a big no-no. You get caught with that, you're gonna get treated like shit the rest of your
Right.
time.
Yeah.
There were a few guys that had been there for 2 to 3 years that had been caught with that in a year, 3 months into their having been there, and then 2 years later they're still getting treated like shit for it, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
And there is video cameras in there, from what I
Yes,
heard.
I don't know if they work. I wouldn't believe they do because there's been some serious beatings and assaults happen there, and if I was them and I was doing the shady shit they're doing, I wouldn't want them to work. you know?
Right. Well, there was a guy that I did a podcast with. I'm not going to say his name because he had me take his video off, but
Yeah,
he said that he had a guy. He saw a guy get beat up really bad in the gym where the basketball court was.
yeah,
And I guess you may have saw it in the podcast before I took it down, but he said there were some girls up on the top bleachers with
Yeah.
with cameras with phones. So
Yeah.
there might be video out there.
I believe there is. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
but-
if there is, man, that would be the end of Agape right there.
And I'll say this: I never saw a staff member hit anybody. Whenever I was there, if I had an issue with somebody, I would go talk to them. Hey, do you want to go fight, or do you just want to be an ass? And because if you keep being an ass, I'm not going to give you a chance. I'm just going to knock you out. I was an asshole, and that's just kind of how you had to act there sometimes. And usually, people are like, "Nah, I'm good, man. Let's just stop." So it's okay, cool, whatever. But there was times they would get students that had issues, and they'd say, "Oh, we're going to go to the boxing ring and handle it." Okay, that's cool. That's sounds like a decent ultimatum.
Right.
And then it happens, and it's just a fucking fist fight in the corner on hardwood, and you're like, "Yo, bro, like this is illegal. Are you betting on me?" But there's a lot of shady shit, and I'm sure there's more that I don't even know about, to be honest. So
Yeah. So I mean, it's Agape is not alone. I mean, there are other places out there, and these places get shut down.
yeah,
Agape hasn't yet, but if they do get shut down, then they're just going to pop up somewhere else under a new name, same people,
Oh, yeah.
just a new name, and that's
Absolutely.
how, you go to a different state that's got doesn't have the licensing restrictions, and there's thousands of them out there.
yeah.
So
There's one thing I always notice is there's always a big concern for safety of the students and of staff and staff family members up from the students. And one thing that always made me really perplexed and kind of confused me is there was several staff members that carried firearms, concealed, except for Graves. He didn't carry concealed because he's an officer,
Right.
a deputy. but they'd carry in the rooms. And you sit there and you're like, okay, so if we're so bad that we have to be, if your wife says, "How are you doing today, sweetheart?" I can't say anything back to her because I'm gonna get my shit beat in.
Right.
Then why are you carrying a firearm around me? Because obviously I could take that from you and do some damage.
You mean like the sheriffs were wearing firearms there too?
Graves, absolutely, man, every day. Once he got his law enforcement certifications, he was in there every day with his firearm on and his little badge.
That's not right.
Bill was an older gentleman who wasn't staff there, but he was more of a church member that volunteered.
Yeah.
But he's a decent guy. He was pretty decent overall. He was nice to everybody. He's a grouchy old man. But he carried, and everybody knew he carried and exactly where he carried and how he carried it.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so you're in a room that you're locked in with people that you think are dangerous, and you're going to bring a firearm in here. Is that for us or for you? Because it seems like it's for you,
Yeah.
And seeing all the people that got hurt there, I would have rather been tased or maced than some of the shit they did,
Sure. I mean, even in the prison system,
yeah,
they're not allowed firearms. All they have is batons or something, or like you said, mace or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Carrying a firearm with a bunch of kids like that's not safe at all.
I mean, one thing happens, you're going to jail for the rest of your life, even if you're the one who gets shot.
You got a kid coming at you, about ready to do some damage to you. You pull out your gun, shoot him.
All we did was work out. We did push-ups, did squats. They literally had a club. You had to be gray shirt or higher, and you go work out in the last 2 or 3 hours of the school day. You have guys in there lifting more than 2 or 3 of these staff members combined. You don't think they're going to be able to whoop your ass and take that gun? It's just common sense stuff like that they didn't do, but we're so strict on the smaller stuff. I think the 2 biggest things that stuck out to me was, the isolation of people and the use of hands, and also the fire alarms at night, man. Because I still kind of have bad dreams where I'm like, oh my God, what was that noise?
Yeah.
And it kind of shoots my heart and starts bumping,
And some of them kids, were probably on medication. I know they took medication away from them.
Yeah. They had a kid that was on some serious seizure medication. I don't know what his issue was. He's from the Virgin Islands, and he I think it was like maybe the 2nd or 3rd week there, he rolled out of bed, busted his face open on the metal pole, and started having a seizure. And they, instead of doing what you're supposed to do, Graves and the other gentlemen that were there held him down and were restraining him and putting their hands into his. You're not supposed to do all that, man. You're gonna hurt somebody.
You put something in his mouth so he doesn't swallow his tongue, for one thing. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I know that.
Yeah, I had a seizure this last summer, and my wife is a CNA, and she knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And, these guys have EMT certs and have done this and that, but they can't even do something as simple as that and take care of somebody that's having a legitimate medical emergency.
One thing you don't do, you just let them flop around like a fish, you just let them.
Yeah, because if you don't, you're going to do more damage, and you're going to pop a tendon or something.
Yep. Yeah.
But there's a lot of weird situations like that, man. I could probably go on for days.
And the thing is, you could, you might have some kid in there with some serious mental issues who's probably on psych meds. You take the meds away from him, what's going to happen to him? You know what I mean? He could get delusional. He could, like I said, maybe try and hurt one of the staff members that has a gun.
Yeah.
And the guy ends up shooting him.
There were students that had legitimate. I guided I was a buddy for several of the worst students, and one of them I don't contact, but I'm friends with on Facebook, and he's just as bad off as he was before because he stopped taking his meds at Agape. He didn't even graduate high school, and that kid would always try to pick fights. His family did all the MMA and all that, and he whenever he had his medicine in his system, whenever before he went, he was not as aggressive.
Right.
Whenever he got there, he was a small kid, but he got real aggressive, and he would do. I would say, "Hey man, come on, you're gonna cause an issue." He'd say "F you" and try to punch me or something, and just dude, if somebody's taking medicine, it's for a reason.
Oh
No, you
yeah.
don't need to dope them up. But if it's affecting them that well and making it to where they're not as an aggressive person as they are right now, there's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
there's this.
Yeah, that makes for a dangerous situation right there.
Yeah, it
You know?
does. I'm sure a lot of them, I've seen that a few staff members have left since I left. So hopefully that was because there's a change in their heart and not just because it wasn't paying enough. But, you know, who knows on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how has your life been since Agape, Jared?
Since, well, like I said, I got out and I graduated high school. I got out that December, went till that end of the May. I went till the end of the May and graduated high school early at 16, right before I turned 17. Then, right whenever I turned 17, my parents kicked me out of the house. I got on a plane to Tennessee, started guiding rafts and working for a company that was a raft guide company, and lived up in Tennessee, and then went back to Texas for a while with my grandparents till I turned 18. Got into construction and met my wife along that way, and now we are back up here in Tennessee, and I'm going to start school soon to get my EMT certifications and then move into law enforcement. But right now I'm working at a factory.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Earning decent money, being able to support myself and my wife pretty soon. So
Good. Keeping yourself busy. Yeah, that's good.
absolutely,
That's good.
I won't
So,
lie. After I went back to Texas after I turned 18, I did get into some pretty stupid stuff. I won't talk about that just because that was after I turned 18.
sure.
But I got into some dumb stuff. Nothing as bad as what I used to do, but after that, I kind of went through a dumb stage. Just going out drinking, partying, and then I kind of stopped that and went back to my wife, and then we got married. And since then, I've been on a pretty decent path, and I don't think Agape helped me in the way they wanted it to. It taught me not to take shit from people. It taught me to not be so soft spoken about stuff and to not really care about how people feel if it's affecting me badly. But at the same time, it taught me how to be productive because if and how to get along with people too,
Oh yeah.
because you're in there with guys that you probably don't like. And so it kind of taught me, hey, I go to work. I might not like this dude, but I'm going to work my 12 hours and then I'm going to go home and eat dinner and go to bed. I'm not going to be a dick.
Right.
So it teaches you a few decent things, but definitely not what they want you to. It doesn't go the way they want to see it go.
I've always said, shit happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit happens. Like you said, what after you got out of Agape, things, some of the things, shit happens. You
Yeah.
just dust off your feet, keep going forward. You don't go
Absolutely.
back. You don't dwell on it. Just move forward.
Absolutely.
That's all you do. You know.
That's all you
So,
can do, man. You can't
yeah.
rely on somebody else to fix your issues. You just have to be enough self-aware to fix them on your own. And you can
Well,
love people and have them talk to you and help you,
yeah.
but you really got to take initiative on that. You can't.
And there are some. I'm not trying to say anything bad about people who are actually getting counseling because people do get counseling sometimes. You know what I mean? But
Oh yeah, no, that's good.
yeah, it could mean it could be part with Agape and some other issues that they have. But yeah,
Yeah.
people get counseling or they talk to therapists or whatever. And
Absolutely.
that's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean,
No, it's not at all. What I mean is like at Agape, if you had an issue with something or something happened or you got in trouble, it kind of just you knew, okay, well, I'm gonna go through this, and this, and then I'll be good. I'm
yeah,
gonna go to brown shirt today, but I'm gonna go gray, maroon, red again. In real life, it doesn't work like that. If you fuck
right,
up, hit somebody in the road, you punch them in the face, you're gonna go to jail for 3 or 4 years, or if that, and then you're gonna get out and you're gonna have a criminal record.
yeah,
So you got to make sure, if you have an internal issue, if you're pissed off for the next few months for some godforsaken reason, you don't let yourself get into that situation.
Right.
If you don't steal the food, at the grocery store, people used to steal food there all the time at Agape. You don't steal the food. You go out and work, and then you earn money, and then you buy your own food.
Uh,
Just stuff like that.
I think Agape had their priorities wrong. I mean, their
Absolutely.
whole point was to make you a better person. Obviously, it
Yeah.
didn't. It didn't. It may have in a few ways, things you may
Yeah.
have learned along the way. But it would have been better if they just put you in the their whole thing was the church, of course. Teach you about God, show you how to balance a checkbook. I mean
Yeah.
things that you're going to be needing when you get out of there when you become an adult. But no,
Yeah.
no, you step out of line, they slam you on the floor.
Yeah.
That was their whole. It's like, man, you guys, you fuckers got your shit backwards, man. It's backwards
Absolutely.
completely. But that's. I guess that's how the cookie crumbles. I guess. You know.
Yeah, it is. I know a lot of guys that have gotten out and done some pretty good stuff with their lives. There's a few guys, even some of them that have gone back to the stuff they're doing before they went.
Yeah.
Uh, they definitely have their priorities straight. For some, a guy that I was friends with there that ended up getting out and got back into selling drugs. That's wrong. But he's taking care of his child's mother. He's taking care of his child. He's working really hard at his actual job. And as far as the other stuff, I don't condone that. But I can say, if he hadn't been through that, he probably wouldn't have got that initiative. And so I commend those people that are
You know.
on the bad path, but are at least taking care of themselves and not
From
being a total waste.
right. I mean, from the guys that I've talked to, I mean, yeah, it was 95% bad, but there was some good that came out of it. It
There
it, it,
absolutely
it
was.
taught them
Yeah.
a few things. Sure, I'll give them
Yeah.
that. But as my friend James Griffey would say, the bad outweighs the good. You know what
It
I mean?
does. It does in many ways.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that's life, man.
It
No one,
is.
no one said it
It's
was
sad,
fair.
man.
Yeah, no one said it was fair. You just gotta live it the best way you can.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people did, man. They'd be really depressed and shit, and they just kind of get over it. As I say, not actually get over it, but they'd get around it and kind of push through it and then just make the best they could. Hey, well, I'm here. I'm going to try to get through a couple grades of school,
Sure.
I saw guys go through a grade of school in like 2 weeks. A guy that I talk to quite often who lives out in California now, Dakota, he had a deadline he was wanting to meet. His dad said his only chance was going to be here, and if not, you're going to be at Agape till you're 18.
Right.
So I saw he was my guide at the time, or I had just gotten out of being under his wing.
Hmm.
Uh, but he did, I think, about a semester of work, which would be 100. That'd be I think like 80 something, 70 something paces, which is a whole book of schooling stuff.
Yeah.
He did all of that in like a week or 2 weeks. That's supposed to last you 6 months, So there was some people that really got their stuff done.
Yeah.
Uh,
Took the initiative. Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty
and
much.
it was pretty cool to see the good that did come out of it. But there wasn't a whole bunch. I can say that.
Yeah. I've yet to have somebody come on to tell me that it was all good. Haven't had
No,
it.
it definitely wasn't. But it definitely there's some pretty bad stuff that went on. But overall, I think most of us came out okay. But it's just looking back, it's more of a like, what the hell, guys? Like, what are you doing? You're really doing this to kids. You did this to us. Why are you doing that to them? And
Yeah.
that's why I messaged y'all, because I saw that and I figured I could at least share a little bit.
And they do it all in the name of Christ, which is even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can understand if it was a secular organization, but when you're doing it under under the guise of
it's a cult,
Jesus
man.
Christ, yeah,
It is,
it
man.
is. It's a cult. It's a cult. Yes.
It is, and people, whenever they hear that, they think, "Oh, well, Satan worshiping." Oh no, it's the exact
Oh.
opposite.
Oh.
And I loved, one thing I loved, Altar. He was a professor. I think he was a professor in the college they were starting, and he taught at the staff school. I didn't like him as a person. He was kind of annoying, but his teaching of the Bible was pretty interesting. I learned a lot. He was a very smart gentleman. He's the reason why I read a proverb every day, and there's some good preachers that you got to hear, but overall, even whenever you sat in the church service, you were getting, oh, well, we don't judge, but why do y'all do this? And they don't even say it, but they'll just point at us while talking to the congregation. Why do you do this? And it's like, really, bro?
Yeah,
Like,
they immediately contradict themselves. Yep.
oh yeah, man.
And
Yeah.
and the thing is, no one ever hears about the good pastors. You know what I mean?
No.
And like I said,
Yeah,
because they always hear about the bad ones because the bad overshadows the good.
it does. It really
It
does.
really sucks. Yeah, it does. So, but anyway, Jerod, this has been a good podcast, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Do you have anything to kind of end this? Anything to say?
Not really. I guess just to any parents that might be thinking about this or think this is their only choice, really outweigh everything. Don't take for granted the fact that you do have your kid because, that could end. There are people that ran away from Agape and didn't see their family again for quite a while. And you probably will alienate yourself from your child, to be quite honest with you, if you do this. And I don't wish that upon you. I hope that if you do still make that decision, they say, oh, well, my mom and dad wanted to do that because they love me and they thought that was what was best. But I can tell you from experience that of many things for me did not end up. That's not how it went for me. But I just say weigh your options, and if it's a matter of a couple, $4,000-$5,000 to send them to some better place, by all means, please do it. I know I'm not anybody, but I'll say that. Just please do it.
All right. I'm going to end the podcast. Stay on for a few seconds, Jerod. I'll talk
All
to you
right.
real quick. I want to thank everybody for watching. If it's your first time watching, please subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. And right now, I want to give a big shout out to some of the guys that have been helping me and some of the gals that have been helping me. James Griffey, Jay Frazier, and especially Amanda Householder. And I'm sure everybody's heard of her. And of course, Jenny Miller as well. Go to they have a YouTube page, is Exposing Circle of Hope. Go subscribe to that, and Pieces of Victory. Subscribe to that as well. So for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. You take care of yourself. You take care of each other.